Hello and welcome back to FPL with Old Man Phil, and thanks for joining me. It's been a very, very tough time for me. As you can see, it's red arrows all the way along. We had a very poor first week and an even worse second week. And so with the injury to Saka and the probability being high that Palmer will not play, that's my two best players out. Also, I had to consider that Odegaard was also injured and maybe not fit enough for game week 3. And therefore, with Arsenal's fixtures, where is the creativity going to come from in order to supply Gyökeres for him to get goals? I had to make big decisions. I took a gamble not selecting Salah or Haaland, and it didn't pay off. The players that I brought in, particularly from West Ham and Aston Villa, have not delivered the goods, and therefore I made a decision. I have to play my wild card. And my wildcard, as we saw in the previous video, and I'm fairly happy with my wildcard. There's a number of things that I am looking at and possibly one or two changes that I might make before the deadline on Saturday. But I think we should take a look at the fixtures. This is what this video is for. We're going to look at what to expect from the games over this Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. So let's just go and have a look at what the fixtures are and speculate on what might happen in those games. And first up, we have Chelsea and Fulham. Well, of course, Chelsea are flying high. They do look like they can score at will, and even without Palmer, they will have a very good attack. And I'm guessing that their attack will be too much for Fulham. I think defensively, Chelsea have looked better this year than they did last year. Chalobah at the back, I have been particularly impressed with. And Cucurella is obviously a threat coming inside into that midfield area. So Chelsea have a number of players that even without Palmer are capable of breaking down that Fulham defence. One of the players that I have brought into my team, and it's purely based on what I'm seeing on the pitch when I watch the games, is Enzo. Enzo Fernandez is becoming a quite important part of that Chelsea midfield. I think he's definitely going to start regularly. He's going to get his 90 minutes game after game. And he gets forward. He gets himself into good positions in the box, especially at set pieces. He also is a threat driving forward. He's also available in support at the edge of the box. And so at 6.5 million, he represents, I think, very good value. He has an attacking threat. He's not likely to get much in terms of defensive contributions because he does get forward more than defend. And I think he adds a lot to that Chelsea attack. But I'm not 100% about him, and I am considering changing him in the wildcard before the deadline on Saturday. I do expect Chelsea to win that game comfortably, although I don't think it will be a goal fest. Fulham are not that bad a team. It is a London derby, and I expect Chelsea to get a couple of goals, maybe in a 2-0 or a 2-1 victory. Next up is Manchester United versus Burnley, and as a Manchester United fan, I am watching FPL managers load up their teams on a free hit or a wildcard with Manchester United players, generally as a free hit, because long term you can't be thinking about having 2 or 3 Manchester United players in your team. United having lost to Grimsby and what looks like morale being extremely low and the manager not really knowing where to go from here. I'm not sure that it is a good time to be filling up your team with Manchester United players. Burnley will be licking their lips and will really fancy their chances. They're going to go at United. They're going to press them hard. They're going to make life difficult for them. I do suspect United will win, but I don't think it's going to be by many, and we'll be lucky if we come out of that by the odd goal. I'm going to say that Manchester United will probably just sneak it because defensively they will probably be solid, and I'm going to say it's going to finish at 1-0. I wouldn't be loading up my team with Cunha and Mbeumo and Fernandes at this point, or even defensively with players like Dorgu. I would just wait and see what happens to United over the next few fixtures. They've got some very tough fixtures coming up. And I don't really rate their chances in any of the games coming up at the moment. And then Spurs against Bournemouth. Spurs are playing very, very well. They have a good attacking threat, and defensively they are a lot more solid than they were last year. I fancy Spurs to win that one quite comfortably, and I think they will score 2 or 3 goals. They may concede, But with Van de Ven in my squad, I'm hoping that they manage a clean sheet. I don't think Spurs are going to again have a goal fest. I think that 2 goals against that Bournemouth defence will be a good performance. I'm going to say that's going to finish 2-0. And then Sunderland against Brentford. This is a very difficult one to call because Sunderland have started reasonably well and Brentford have begun the season quite poorly. A number of players are playing well for Sunderland. Dingra is one that people should be keeping an eye on at the moment, playing on the left-hand side there. But Brentford, it's very difficult to highlight any particular player. Damsgaard in the last game did look dangerous, but is he really that good at 6 million that it warrants bringing him into my squad? Definitely not. And as Brentford are playing quite poorly at the moment, I do fancy Sunderland might get something out of that game at home. And I'm going to say that'll probably finish 1-1. The saga of Strand Larsen keeps going as we look at the Wolves versus Everton. I would avoid Strand Larsen. Is he going to go to Newcastle? Well, time will tell. He does look like he is in form at the moment. And if he does go to Newcastle, then the chances are he is going to start. They definitely need a striker. And if they bring in Strand Larsen, he probably will start. They probably need 2 strikers, Newcastle. So it will also depend on who else Newcastle bring in. But for the moment, I'm just avoiding Strand Larsen. He is in form and he is a good pick at 6.5 million. But Everton will provide quite tough opposition. Everton are quite good defensively. I think they do have the ability to contain Wolves. I think they will put up an extremely good performance against Wolves. And I do fancy Everton to take this one by 1-0. Players to watch for Everton, players like Njai, and definitely now Grealish. Grealish has played a couple of games now, and in both games he's looked very creative. He looks like a very good attacking threat. And Grealish is definitely someone that I am keeping an eye on. And as I said, I fancy Everton to win this one by the odd goal, 1-0. Leeds then play Newcastle, and this is also very tough to call. Newcastle's problems are that they are without a striker. They have also got problems in that they may have lost 2 of their 3 very good midfielders. And we don't know yet whether Tonali and Joe Linton are going to make the team. Without those 3 in midfield playing together, they may not have the attacking spark that Newcastle really need. And especially if Strand Larsen is still at Wolves on Saturday, then I don't think Newcastle are going to find it very, very easy. They are good defensively, Newcastle, and Leeds did look like they could collapse quite easily against Arsenal. They were absolutely dreadful, having had a very good start to the season against Everton. I don't think there are any players that I'm currently looking at from Leeds and keeping an eye on for future game weeks. And Newcastle also the same. I have included Dan Burn in my squad because Newcastle have some very good fixtures coming up, and there may be 1 or 2 clean sheets coming up over the next 3 or 4 game weeks. I do think that will end in a draw, and I'm going to say in that kind of derby in Leeds, this very hostile ground, I think it's probably going to end 1-1. And then the games on Sunday, starting with Brighton and Manchester City. I've brought Haaland into my wildcard team. I think Manchester City have been stung by Spurs last week, and I don't think they're going to allow themselves to get stung twice. And I think they will bounce back. They will beat Brighton comfortably. And I'm guessing that Manchester City will score 3. Whether they will keep a clean sheet, I don't know. It's difficult to say with that Manchester City defence, but I think that Haaland has every chance of a couple of returns in that game, as Manchester City are not going to want to get beaten again. Manchester City will turn up on Sunday, and they will give Brighton a busy, busy time in defence. And so Haaland definitely one who is in my squad, and I have kept Reinders in my squad as well. I do think that despite his rather poorish performance against Spurs, he will keep his place, he will start, and I am thinking that Manchester City will bounce back. They will show the others that they are not collapsing here and that they still are a threat at the top of the league. Nottingham Forest should beat West Ham quite comfortably. But I am guessing at this point, having let go Bowen out of my wildcard because of his dreadful start, because of West Ham's overall poor start, I'm guessing that Bowen will get on the score sheet. But Nottingham Forest will be too strong for them. I'm going to say that Nottingham Forest will beat them 2-1. I think it's going to be close. West Ham, I don't think, will lie down again. Defensively, they are poor, and that's why I've brought Chris Wood into my team. I'm hoping that it will be a Nottingham Forest win. They should be good defensively, and up front they should have enough firepower to overcome West Ham. I'm just hoping that Wood gets a couple of goals. Maybe it will be 3-1 to Nottingham Forest. Then the big game of the weekend, we have Liverpool playing Arsenal, and that is a big game. And I'm very much looking forward to watching that game. I have brought Salah in. I think Salah can get returns against anybody. And having decided to play Haaland and Salah, the problem that I have is with my captain. I think I will go with Haaland. I think Arsenal will put up a good performance against Liverpool defensively, but in attack, as I mentioned previously, they've lost Saka and they've lost Odegaard. And so the creativity may be limited against Liverpool. And I suspect that Liverpool will edge that one by a couple of goals to 1. I'm hoping that Salah can get a return or two in that game. I think it will be close, but I think there will be goals, and I think Liverpool will win by 3-2 or somewhere around that mark. And then finally, we have a late kick-off on Sunday. We have Aston Villa against Crystal Palace. Villa have been playing very poorly. I've got rid of all my players now from my new wildcard. It's probably a time when Watkins is going to get himself on the score sheet, having just let him go. And Crystal Palace, I think, will have a tough time against Aston Villa. I think it will be close, and it may even end in a draw. I think that both teams will score goals, and I think it will finish probably 1-1 or 2-2. Watkins, as I said, will probably score, and players to keep an eye on who've not been performing well, Tielemans and Rodgers. We need to keep an eye on them. Are Aston Villa going to recover from this tough start? Crystal Palace are also going to be tough opposition for them. With Eze gone, Sarr is starting to look like a very good pick at 6.5 million. They have not replaced him at the moment, and it does seem that maybe he's going to have to take over from where Eze left off and step up and do that goal-scoring stuff that Eze used to do. So maybe Sarr, with his fixtures, would be a good player to bring into your squad if you are wildcarding, if you are free-hitting. I think he has every chance of getting a return or two on the weekend. And so just looking at my wildcard team, I do like it. I think it's got a lot of good players in there. It contains Salah and it contains Haaland. It's got João Pedro, Wood, Semenyo, Enzo at the moment. And defensively, I fancy that there's a couple of clean sheets defensively as well, although probably not many attacking returns. Burn always represents a threat from set pieces, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him getting a return against Leeds. But the big problem I have is with Crystal Palace and with Chelsea. Chelsea's fixtures do look pretty good. They have Fulham at home, Brentford away, Manchester United away, which Chelsea are probably not trembling about at the moment, and then Brighton at home. In game week 7, I will be looking to take players out of that team and to replace them with a couple of Arsenal players. But those are good fixtures for the coming 4 game weeks. And then Crystal Palace's fixtures, well, they are also fairly decent fixtures. Aston Villa probably isn't going to be as difficult as a 4 that the game has got them ranked as, and I think it will be close. And I think that Crystal Palace are going to give them a very serious game here. And if Villa don't step up from how they've been playing in the first 2 game weeks, Crystal Palace could win. And then following Aston Villa, you have Sunderland, West Ham and Liverpool. I do think that Chelsea's fixtures are slightly better than Crystal Palace's at this stage. And so I think my decision to go with Enzo is justified. I can't really alter this team for the next 4 game weeks. even with injuries, I really don't want to be using my transfers now. I need to be rolling transfers as we get nearer to game week 7. I need plenty of transfers for that game week. And then the other problem with the Chelsea players is João Pedro. Is João Pedro going to start every game? Certainly with Cole Palmer out, he's going to start this weekend. But as Europe starts, are his minutes going to be reduced? I don't know. And if his minutes are going to be reduced, does it make Mateta a much better option, despite the fact that Chelsea have slightly better fixtures than Crystal Palace? I think that João Pedro has every chance of starting in the next 4 game weeks. And so I think I will probably go with João Pedro rather than Mateta. Wood also is in the same boat. When Europe starts, will Wood's minutes drop dramatically? I don't think it will, but we do know that Mateta will probably start every single game. I don't think they will, and so I think I'm probably going to stick with Chris Wood. And so that's it for this short video, just my thoughts on what might happen over the weekend. I think there's some very good fixtures, and I'm hoping my wildcard team will help me to get some much needed points during the course of this game week. I'm really looking forward to the big game, Liverpool and Arsenal, and it will be interesting to see how Manchester United perform against Burnley. So if you have any thoughts about my wildcard team, I'd be happy to hear them. If you think that I should be changing players, I'd be happy to hear about that. This has been the worst start, the worst opening 2 game weeks that I've ever had in FPL. I know from the comments already a lot of people are suffering the same. I've decided big changes are necessary. I've gone to a wild card. This team has to now last me for the next 4 game weeks. And I'm relying on Salah, Haaland, João Pedro and Wood to get me good returns and help me to recover in terms of FPL this year. And that's it for this short video. If you're brand new to the channel and you like FM and you like FPL and you love to see people suffer when they're playing both of these games, you're probably in the right place. So why not do all that good stuff that you can see on the screen? And why not, while you're there clicking around, give us a like and help the channel to grow and help to support us. And all that remains to be said now is stay safe, take care, and I'll see you hopefully for the deadline stream on Saturday morning.